What up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of my brand new YouTube channel, Booked and Screened. My name is Quanisha.
Kanista Nisha.
And this is Booked and Busy, the weekly series where I'll talk about any story that's currently occupying my brain, whether that's the books that I'm reading, the movies that I'm watching, or the TV shows that I'm binging. So hopefully that sounds of interest to you and you want to join my virtual watch club / book club. If so, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can become part of the fam. So let's get into it, starting with the book. I am currently reading The Last Flight by Julie Clark. Now, I picked this book up on a walk. I was taking my dog around the neighborhood. I saw a little free library and I had to just stop in there and see what they had. Now, I read the back of this book and I was captivated. So essentially in this story, this is the story of two women. It's told from a dual POV, so you get the point of view of both Claire and Ava. Now, Claire is married to a politician. He's high-powered, he's got a lot of money, and he's got a lot of influence. But everything that glitters is not gold in that situation. So even though things might look great on the outside, it's a bit darker on the inside. So Claire decides that she wants out. Then there's Ava. Ava was an Ivy League student who turned kind of into a drug dealer. And even though she's good at what she does, she also decides she wants out of her life. So in a chance encounter, these two meet at the airport and decide they're gonna switch boarding passes. So Claire will board the flight that Ava was supposed to take to Oakland, and Ava will board the flight that Claire was supposed to take to Puerto Rico. And I guess chaos will ensue when they hit the ground, because I'm not sure if they thought that all the way through. But that's what the back sounded like. And that sounded so interesting. Like that sounded like such a book that I would want to read, a show that I would want to watch. I think that would make a really good movie. So Netflix, I'm giving you some suggestions there, but it just sounded so good. So I picked it up, and this is where I am in the book. I'm about halfway through. I got there really quickly because, like I said, I was so interested in it. And I wanted to love it. Okay, I really wanted to love this book because it sounded so good. It made me sit up and be like, ooh, like, I can't wait to see what happens here. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm about halfway through. This is where I am in the book. And it's just not gripping me in the way that I thought that it would. I thought this story was gonna be nonstop action. It was gonna be keeping me guessing, that I was gonna, I don't know. I just guess I thought this was gonna be so much more action-packed. Like I was gonna be able to watch this like a movie in my head while I was reading it. But it just hasn't turned out that way, unfortunately. So as I mentioned, this book is told in a dual POV, so you get the point of view of both Claire and Ava. But I also need to mention that this is also a book that flips between the present and the past. So that might be one of the things that's throwing me off about this book, because where I am, like I said, I'm in basically the middle. In the present, all hell's breaking loose. So the flight to Puerto Rico that Ava was supposed to be on has gone down. It's gone down. There are no survivors. So it's all over the news. Anytime there's a major plane crash, you know it's in the news. And because Claire was married to a politician, a high-powered one at that, once they learned that she was on that flight, her face is everywhere. It's posted everywhere. Everyone knows about her death. And so she has to go on the run. She has to basically assume Ava's identity because she can't be Claire anymore. And it's all about her trying to figure out what she's gonna do next, which is super interesting. But then we flip to the past where we hear more about Ava's backstory, which is interesting, I guess, but also, I don't know. It's not as interesting as what's going on with Claire, So it's giving more about how she got into the drug dealer lifestyle, who she meets right before she decides to run away, and kind of what prompts her to run away and what prompts her to try and escape her own life. So while that is interesting, I don't know, it's not keeping me all that entertained. I hate to say it.
I hate to say it. I hope I don't sound ridiculous.
So I definitely want to finish this book. I want to get to the end and see how they wrap it all up and how they end the story for these two characters. I'm not sure what could happen in these last, 100 or so pages that could make me change my mind, but you never know. Julie girl, feel free to shock me. Feel free to throw me for a loop in these last last few pages. I would love to come back during another episode of Booked and Busy where I talk about my final thoughts on this book and have done a complete 180 in my opinion. But I'm gonna finish it and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Now, if you've already read this book and you think my opinion is completely wrong, or if you agree with me, let's talk about it in the comments. You don't have to agree with me, but I do want to discuss it. So let's talk about it. And if you've never read this book, but you enjoy dual POV stories, stories that flip between timelines, stories that are women-led and are about women having to do what they have to do to live the kind of life they want to live, then you might want to pick up a copy of The Last Flight by Julie Clark. So let's shift over to the screen side of things. I'm currently rewatching Desperate Housewives. Now, if you've never seen this show, Desperate Housewives is a dramedy that ran from 2004 to 2012. It centers 4 main women, and it's all about all of the drama, all of the intrigue, and just general mess that these women and their neighbors get into on this street. So let me give you a little bit about each character, because if you don't love the characters, you won't love the show. First, there is Bree Vandekamp. She is married to Rex at first, and then eventually gets married to Orson. Now, Bree is a redhead, gun-toting, conservative, 1950s-esque housewife. She is kind of the ideal housewife that everyone sort of aspires to because of how her life looks from the outside looking in. You know, her lawn is always impeccable. Her house is always clean. She serves 5-course dinners for her family every night. So she's definitely the ideal wife from the outside looking in. But she's got a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of buried beneath the surface there with Bree. Now, I personally love Bree. She's one of my favorite characters. And even though I feel like there's a lot that I don't agree with her on, there are some moments where Bree gets so real. And I feel like she just, she gets so real that I can't deny it. I'm like, no, I see you, Bree, and I would have done the same thing. People might look at you sideways and give you a little bit of side eye, but when it comes down to it, I know that Bree's gonna do what she needs to do. And I love her for that. Next, there is Lynette Scavo. So Lynette is married to Tom Scavo. Lynette is a smart as a whip, no nonsense, about the business type of woman. She was really great at her job until she started getting bogged down with having kids. My God, Tom, get off her. So once she starts getting bogged down with having kids, that's a major plot point in their story. And Tom and Lynette actually have a lot of friction in their marriage, but I do think they have one of the stronger relationships on the show. So that's another thing. You get to watch their relationship grow and see how they learn to communicate with each other, which I think is really nice. Then you have Gabby Solis. So Gabby is the Latina on the lane. She's married to Carlos Solis. She is fabulous. She's glamorous. She used to be a model. She is like spicy and fiery. Now, I don't mean to promote stereotypes, but that's the show. I'm just describing her. Like they made her that way. I'm just describing her. And she is also selfish and vain, but the more you get to know her and the more the girls got to know her, the more she became an integral part of the lane. She becomes a loved and cherished member of the friend group. So I love Gabby and all her selfish, glamorous glory. I love her.
Money can't buy happiness.
Well, sure can. That's just a lie we tell poor people to keep them from rioting.
Gabby.
It's a joke. Lighten up.
And then finally, there is Susan Meyer / Susan Delfino, I guess. Susan was married to Carl Meyer, and then eventually she gets married to Mike Delfino. Now, to me, Susan is one of the worst characters.
I hate Susan Meyer. Every time I see those big doe eyes of hers, I swear to God, I just want to go out and shoot a deer.
I can't stand her. Mostly because every time I'm watching her, I feel like I have to say, Susan, stand up. And not just because she's clumsy. Oh, I didn't even describe her. So Susan, they kind of made her like the adorable one. She's adorable, she can't cook, she's emotional, she's clumsy. And when she first when the show first starts, she's single. So she does a lot to try and get her man, Mike Delfino. There's a lot that goes into that. But I definitely think Susan puts the desperate in Desperate Housewives. And like I said, every episode, I'm basically I'm like talking to the screen, telling her, Susan, stand up.
What exactly is it you want from me, Mrs. Hoover?
Are these together?
Bring it up.
So that's a little bit about each character, and each and every one of them get into their own drama, as well as any of the neighbors that move onto the lane. It's a lot of mess, it's a lot of intrigue, and it's just great TV. It's great TV. As I mentioned, the show went off the air in 2012, so some of it might be a bit dated, but honestly, I think the humor still stands up, I think the drama still stands up, and I think it's great bingeable TV. So where I'm in season 7. I just got to season 7 out of 8 seasons. And spoiler alert. Now, if you've never seen the show and you want to, then you might want to fast forward through this part so I don't give any spoilers. But let's be honest, nobody's watching this. This is just me and you, right? Me and you, that one person who clicked on this YouTube video and decided to watch it. Now, if you are that one person and you've made it to this point in the video, don't forget to leave a comment, leave a thumbs up in the comments so that I know you've made it this far and that you see me and I see you, because you're my day one for real. Okay, anyway, like I said, spoiler alert, I'm in season 7. So what's currently just happened is kind of a lot. So in the early season of season 7, in the early start of it, Bree has gotten left by Orson. Orson has decided that Bree is a hypocrite and he can no longer be married to her, so he's decided to leave her. Bree is obviously distraught, so she decides to channel her energy into a project where she wants to redesign her home. Her contractor is a, pretty young thing, and so she decides that she has a sorry, that's my dog. So Bree hires a contractor, he's hot, she decides she wants to get a piece of him, so she's trying to navigate that. Lynette has popped out yet another baby and is kind of struggling. Tom is struggling with postpartum depression, and they're trying to navigate that. Gabby and Carlos have recently discovered that the hospital switched one of their kids at birth, so they've been raising another couple's child. They decided that they wanted to track down that family, meet their biological daughter, and it's kind of been a bit rocky because Gabby obviously wants to do a lot for her biological child, but that does cause friction with her child's parents. And then finally, there is Susan and Mike. Susan and Mike have gotten remarried, and Mike has had a lot of trouble financially with his business. It has not been going well. So the two of them have to downsize, move into an apartment, and in order to make some extra money, Susan decides to take on a side gig as like a cam girl. There's no sex, there's no nudity, but she is basically doing housework in her lingerie for men to watch and enjoy. So that's kind of what's going on with each girl on the lane. It's the beginning of the season, so the major drama hasn't happened yet, as opposed to the end of season 6 where there was so much drama I just could barely even keep it all straight. But one major thing that has just happened in the beginning of season 7, Paul Young is back. Now, if you've not seen this show, I'm not gonna spoil it by telling you who Paul Young is. And if you have seen the show, if you know, you know. But Paul Young is back, and I just can't help but think he's back for revenge, because there is no way Paul Young would come back to Wisteria Lane if it wasn't for revenge. At all. And I can't wait, because I don't remember what his plan was. I don't remember what he had up his sleeve. So I'm really interested. And honestly, I'm really interested to get to the end of the show, because I've only got one more season. I remember the ending really clearly, and I remember it being beautiful. But I really want to get through all of the drama and all of the plot points that get me up to the end so I can enjoy it again for the second time. I love that show. All right, I really hope you've enjoyed this video so far. If you've made it to this point, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please, I beg of you, subscribe. As I mentioned, I'm brand new to YouTube and I could use the subscribers, so join the family. Come on, what are you doing? It's free. Do it for you. Do it for me. It'll be a good time. Anyway, we've been talking about The Last Flight by Julie Clark and Desperate Housewives. Now, an important thing to note, I didn't plan to consume these two pieces of media at the same time. Like, I didn't plan to read this book and watch Desperate Housewives at the same time. But one thing I couldn't help but notice is that these two girls, Claire and Ava, they would have been right at home on the lane, okay? Because anybody who moves onto that lane, unless you're one of the main four girls, and honestly, even if you are one of the main four girls, you know there's gonna be some sort of past. Anybody who moves into this lane, they're either a murderer, they're a drug dealer, they're running a prostitution ring outside of their home. Something fishy is going on with them. Like, the jig is up for them and I wanna know what it is. Like, something fishy is going on and I wanna know what it is. So these women very easily could have moved onto the lane and nobody would have batted an eye because they're all too busy trying to cover up their own mess to be worried about what they got going on. So maybe next time they'll think about doing that. But I hope you've enjoyed this video and hopefully you'll come back for another episode. But until then, keep reading, keep watching, and keep talking back to the screen. Bye.
That ain't no man. You can see her real hair right there. Mind. I know you better get out of my face. Out of my face. Out of my face. This is all me up in here. You handle that.